Hi guys, good evening. Yogesh, I see your AI has requested me if the recording can go ahead. I've said yes. I'm presuming you've got artificial intelligence doing your job for you now, have you?
Of course, yeah, I've cloned myself. Feel free
I
to
can't hear
reject it. It's
you. I
automatic,
can
so
see
I
you
don't even
speak,
know
but
how
I
to
can't
stop
hear
it.
you. Are you muted by any chance?
No, you should be able to hear me.
No. Okay. Um,
I
Let me
can hear
check.
him.
I can hear him too.
Oh, so it's not me.
Not able to hear you. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay, you can. So I'm not able to hear you. Let me try and see if maybe someone else. I saw Suresh come online. Suresh, can you just speak? I don't know whether my speaker is on my headset is defunct. Okay, seems like everyone else can hear you. So maybe it's just my audio. Give me a minute, please.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, you go.
Okay, sorry, just seeing if once again you guys can hear me. I just need someone to just speak back to me to see if I can hear you back.
Yes, we can hear you,
Okay,
Prithvi.
yeah, thumbs up. You can hear me. For some reason I'm not able to hear you guys. Okay, I don't want to hold people back. So if you can hear me, what I'll request is that we make a start. And if you have any queries, then maybe raise that in the chat box, and I'll pick it up from there. Um, I was hoping for both my builder and my project manager to join us. My project manager, unfortunately, has been unwell, so she can't join us, and our builder is able to join us at 8:30. So I don't want to hold people back. I will start with the presentation anyway, and feel free to raise your hand and pause, and I can then look at the questions in the chat box and hopefully address them there. It seems like you all can hear me. It's just that I don't seem to be able to hear you all. So let me make a start. And can people confirm to me with a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Yogesh, yeah, okay. Subbu said thumbs up. Good. Okay. So I thought I would share with you a recent project that we did, where we bought a property, and effectively I did this with no capital of my own at all, right till the very last stage. Um, a lot of you who are property investors will know that at the moment, mortgage interest rates continue to be high. The rents have pretty much plateaued. So vanilla buy-to-lets don't really work. So I have specifically concentrated in the recent months on this very strategy of trying to buy, refurbish, and refinance. But I added an additional caveat here, where I'm trying to do this with largely other people's capital so that it can be a win-win for everyone. So everyone can still see my screen? Yes? Okay, good. So for people who have not heard of BRRR, it's not just how we feel in the winter months and most of spring. It's buy, refurbish, rent, and refinance. And the benefits, of course, here are that you are not liquidating the asset, you're still keeping the asset. It's a cash flow generating asset. And over time, you're still continuing to build equity in the asset. And this is ideal for people who are looking to create wealth over the long term. The idea is also that you could borrow people's money and you leverage that money to purchase assets. And then you should also look at it from the lens of people do have passive capital sitting in their bank accounts, and you're helping facilitate wealth creation for them as well. So if you can try and approach it from those lens, you can see that this particular strategy has lots of benefits. This particular property that I wanted to go for, whether it is coming up here. Okay. This particular property that I went for is a property in Walkley, which is within a mile and a half of the Sheffield teaching hospitals, the universities, etc. And before I chose this property, I did a quick research putting this particular postcode, which is where this auction property was, which is S62PQ. And as a ballpark estimate, I knew that 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom properties with stone frontage seem to be in the range of somewhere between 235 to 280. And maybe the average is somewhere in between, which is around 250 to 260. So that was my kind of starting point. So knowing that, I made sure that the location was good. This is an area where I see in Sheffield will have slow gentrification. This is also an area where lots of landlords are slowly leaving the market. So there's an opportunity to buy below market value. And it has potential for not just rental appreciation, but over time, capital appreciation as well. And so these are the kinds of things you should be thinking about if you're seeking to go for the BRRR strategy. There are different ways to source these kind of properties. You can specifically liaise with local networking agents. There are some banks that sometimes are looking to clear their books as well. There are foreclosures by lots of entities. There are auctions. And if you go to local networking groups, you might find landlords who are just tired and want to leave. And because they are motivated to sell because of life circumstances, you may have an opportunity to try and buy it at below market value. So the property that I looked at was by the modern method of auction. So this is not the other type of auction, where you have a 28-day period, the gavel goes down and you have to complete within 28 days. This is slightly different in that they give you, this company called I Am Sold gives you slightly longer period, which is they give you close to 8 weeks, but they charge you a huge, massive reservation fee. Now it was on the market for 150,000, and as soon as it came down to 140,000, I went in very cheekily, and I don't know if you can see my arrow over here, but I made an offer of 137,500. You then have to add this 6,600 fee that you have to pay to the auctioneer upfront. So this is an amount you pay straight away right at the time that your offer is accepted, and from that point on, you have about 56 days in which you can complete. So the property, as I mentioned, these are just Google snapshot images. For people who are from Sheffield, they'll know the area very well. Bowness Road is very close to the tram lines. It's in Walkley, very close to both Hillsborough as well as to all of the universities and the hospitals. So it's a nice residential location, but has got lots of supermarkets nearby. Kellam Island is nearby, which is all new and upcoming restaurants and brunch places, etc., and is still within walking distance or one bus ride away from all of the hospitals and universities, and is also just about a couple of miles away from Sheffield city centre. How did I acquire finance? Now, remember I told you this is a no money down deal. there are different ways of doing it. People will tell you some other techniques where you go to the seller and effectively ask the seller to retain the property while you negotiate with the seller that you will add the value. You have to come into some kind of a contractual arrangement for it. Other ways that people do it, and Yogesh may have more insights on this, is in London, I know there are lots of people who do partnerships where for a single property, they get in, the developer just does the development, the financer just puts in the capital, they do the property up, and then they sell it, and then they split it either 50-50 or 60-40, etc. There are what are known as hard money lenders. So these are people who will give you the whole stash of cash. And at the end, they either want an equity option or they want a certain percentage of the profit, or you go to private investors. And you will all know that there is pros and cons, for all of this. So in my case, I went with the option of going to a private investor, but really this was people who have got money in their company accounts. I approached two company directors in mid-December. These were directors, I don't know if we have Rahul on the call, but Rahul had capital in his private healthcare company, and Ashish, who runs a steel business, had some passive capital which he wasn't doing anything with it for about 6 months. So I agreed to give them 0.75% interest, which equates to 9% per year for a minimum of 3 months. If for any reason any one of them walked away from it, I did know that I have bridging finance available. This is where commercial lenders come and give you a bridging loan for a defined period of usually 6 to 9 months. And then you return that money once you have remortgaged. So that is an alternative. You can call that hard money lending if you want. The security I offered them was that their name would be there on the title deeds as something known as an RX1 restriction. And some of these investors, they just wanted to, the terminology for this is you earn and you learn. So what I mean by that is you still earn interest on your capital, but they also got an opportunity to learn how I did this whole process. So even though I'm doing a presentation for you guys today, these guys all had the opportunity to put the capital in and still earn 9% per year on their capital. So intercompany loan agreements are available quite easily on the internet if you wanted to look at it. Rahul's given me consent to use this. So his company is called Nalini MedPro Limited, and he was happy to lend me 100,000 in two parts, 50,000 to procure, and then another 50,000 to do the refurbishment. And even though we decided on 6 months as the maximum duration, I was confident we would be able to kind of do it anywhere between 3 to 6 months. And I was going to pay him 0.75% on that 100K, which is £750 per calendar month. And this is a copy of the actual RX1 restriction on the actual title deed document when it was registered, of course. And you can see over here, the price paid for it was 137,500. And you can also see that the restriction on the title is mentioned over here to both companies, Nalini MedPro as well as to Loha Limited. So this restriction means that in the event of something happening to me tomorrow, that property cannot be disposed of unless the security, the RX1 that is registered on the title deeds is satisfied. So conveyancing completion and challenges. So you really do need a conveyancer who understands how to register RX1 restriction. When you're doing it with lenders, even though if they are your best of friends, it's important to communicate with them. What is the entry? What is the exit? What is happening with the property as the process goes on? We did encounter quite a few challenges in that the property didn't complete in the timelines that we thought. We had made an offer on this property in November, and we were expecting completion by end of December. But actually, there were things that came along the way, and it meant that the project couldn't get started till early February. My builder had other jobs in the pipeline. He was not going to wait around with thumbs twiddling. So there was a real danger that he could walk away. So I had to, in fact, give him an advance before I even got the property. During the conveyancing process, we identified that the Sheffield Housing Standards, in fact, has put an enforcement notice because of certain damage reported by the tenant, enforcement notices can be very tricky. It was an improvement notice. It can be quite tricky to remove this because the banks will not then let you remortgage such a property unless this enforcement notice is lifted. And this property was not freehold, it was leasehold, but it was also leasehold in that there was no landlord collecting any rent. And this can be a complication when you're trying to remortgage the property. So identifying appropriate indemnity policies, etc., is very important when you're purchasing auction properties. So with all of that saga, we finally completed on 30th Jan 2025. I'm sharing everything with you so that you can scrutinize everything that has been presented here today in front of you. The completion statement very clearly states that £500 was given in advance, and then we completed it for a fee of approximately £148,000. And you can see over here that there is this loan of 100K from Nalini MedPro Limited and another 100K from Loha Limited. So 200K in total of borrowing. So the refurbishing process, even before you start refurbishing, you need to know what are the areas you can truly add value in. So you really have to improve the kitchen and bathrooms. Your property needs to stand out, so it needs to have a curb appeal, and I'll talk to you about external rendering, etc. When you improve the energy efficiency of the property, then it allows lenders to see that you've truly made a massive internal impact on the property and you're foolproofing it for future risks such as EPCC, etc. And in any case, our company Well+H, its basic ethos is to make sure that we reduce our carbon footprint before we depart this world. So this is something we always do in our refurb projects anyway. In terms of budgeting and planning, we had estimated approximately 40K and a timeline of 3 months to be able to do it. So I've got some before and after pictures. You guys will love this part. This is on the left is always what the property looked like before, and on the right is what it looks like now. So the before is, this is the loft bedroom. You can see that there's the sloping eaves over here, and what we've done is we've pushed the eaves right back. I hope you can appreciate that on this side. That just increases the floor space a little bit, and some valuers take that into account. We were also able to add a Velux and bring natural light into the loft bedroom. We were also able to put in insulation boards into the roof. We got the whole roof repaired from outside, but we also put internal insulation plasterboards to prevent heat loss from the top, from the roof. Another picture of the loft from the other side. So this already had a dormer in place. If you can see my mouse, you can see that the top right corner of this room, we ate away into it and put an ensuite there. This is directly above the bathroom below, which meant that the soil pipe from here could go down. And so you're effectively now making it a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom property. By taking away wooden stuff and putting glass in, it just looks and appears that much more bigger. My sister is an interior designer and she's very hot on the fact that both ceiling and wall needs to be of the same color. So it just gives you the perception, maybe not so much in the photographs, but if you walked in, you would see that it would make the room appear much, much bigger. These are the pictures of the ensuite. It's a very tight space, but like in London, Sheffield space is premium, so we have to use every little bit of space. The bit under the sloping bit of the roof is where we've had to put the toilet in, but we've still managed to put in a sink and a quadrant shower in the corner. This little wall over here is a structural wall, so that couldn't be altered. Coming down the stairs now, you can see, the walls were in a bad shape. They've all been repaired properly, taken back to brick, plasterboarded and repaired. Fire doors were put in place. Entire electrics rewiring was done. When you come down now, this is one of the main bedrooms, and you can see we've taken away the cupboard on this side. Because we've had new electrics, we've managed to put in nice new features over there. We were even managed to, you can see from its old picture where there was a lot of damp, etc. in this property, we've managed to make it look quite swanky and new. Sometimes just adding a bit of paneling, etc. gives you those feature walls which attracts tenants. The space underneath the staircase that goes into the loft, we've managed to convert it into like a little storage space, which means you don't really need a cupboard. This can act like a mini cupboard or storage space. The second bedroom had a boiler. We didn't want to completely change the pipework, etc. So we kept it in there, created a little bit of false storage, and colored again the same color as the walls. So the smaller bedroom still keeps its function as a bedroom, but we've kept a carbon monoxide alarm there and walled off the boiler. This is another picture of the same very bedroom. All of the laminate, etc. was removed, wallpaper was removed, and was just made to look that much more smarter. The bathroom, we had to strip it out completely, but to save on costs, we've just gone for paneling, which is really good because it prevents mold, etc., prevents grout on tiles. So for all of you guys who are landlords, you'll know that there can be cracks in between tiles or grout that makes it look really, really bad. Whereas these new PVC panels are just brilliant. We source these sometimes from auctions to keep our costs down as well. And we tend to go for lino rather than tiles, because tiles, etc., can, when wood heats and contracts in the cold, tiles can start moving around, whereas lino stays as is. These are the before after pictures of the landing on the first floor, and you can see all of the woodwork was replaced with new fire doors. We again have a wholesale contract with Howdens, which allows us to get 30% discount over trade, so we can keep our costs really low. This is now the staircase from the landing making its way down to the ground floor. So we've just gone for bog standard dark gray carpets there. And these are the before after pictures of when you come down to the landing. At the back is the open plan dining kitchen, and at the front is the lounge and living space. These are pictures of the lounge itself. There was a very nice period fireplace there, which we had to board off because it was eating into the room itself. We've kept it such that in the future, if anybody wants to go for actual log-based fireplace, they can still use that. But we've only boarded that and just repainted the fireplace. It's a beautiful 100-year-old fireplace, so we've retained those features. We've replaced the old door with PVC door to achieve higher EPC rating from an E to C. And then again, another picture of the lounge. You can see from the other angle some surplus paneling that was left. We've just added that on here in the lounge as well. And then here I've highlighted in the open plan kitchen dining, this is where the enforcement notice came. This is the state the landlord left it in for the previous tenants who reported the matter to Sheffield Housing Standards. The Housing Standards officer visited and, having looked at this, immediately put an enforcement notice in place. This is what prompted the tired landlord to want to sell the property, but that also presented an opportunity for us. We completely reboarded, rewired, put low-cost LED lighting in there, and did the whole place up. We bought second-hand eBay Howden's kitchen and were able to get one with granite and Neff appliances, etc. So really were able to do it to a higher quality. So these are before-after pictures. Even though it might seem similar, I can assure you it's a completely new kitchen. And in that the worktop is granite. And all these little features are relevant because when valuers come, they tend to then give you a higher end of the valuation. So this is a picture of the property before the work was done, and you can see a lot of the bricks there needed repointing, etc. Sometimes it's far more cost effective to just do what is known as external rendering or external insulation cum rendering, which allows you to make the property more heat insulated and preventing heat loss from anywhere. Our builder was able to do that. When he comes on live, I'm hopeful he'll be able to explain that in more detail to us. But this is a good exercise. We took away some of the garden waste and the natural grass and replaced it with artificial grass and a nice sit-out area here for prospective tenants. The work was evidenced with an improved EPC rating. You can see historically it was an E. We were able to bring it down to an EPC C. This has not just monetary value. You can get what is known as green mortgages, where you can knock off 0.2% on interest rates if your property is an EPCC. We all know that the current Labour government is going to make this mandatory by 2028. So for all of you landlords who have an EPC of D, E, and F, you need to start thinking about this from now on itself. What are the challenges? Well, you'll find with BRRR, finding the right kind of property where you can really flip it around fairly quickly is tricky. You will also find invariably that even though you keep a contingency fund in there, renovation costs typically can overrun. I mean, tenant management, I've never had an issue, but you can have challenges with the type of tenants, etc. And particularly now with the new rent reforms that are going to come in, there can be a challenge. I would say you really need to build a good, reliable team. Even though I gave my team 3 months time, they were actually able to do it within 2 months, which was brilliant. I was able to incentivize it for them by saying if you finished it before time, there's an added benefit for you. We didn't expect the roof to be as bad as it was, but in the end, we had to replace the whole roof, which ate into our contingency budget. But my total spend, including all of the procurement costs, etc., was a total of 205K approximately. So remember, I borrowed 200K from them. Interest was paid on a monthly basis. So this 205K incorporates some of the interest that was paid back to my lenders as well. So when I was renting the property, I found that typically properties there were only going at £1,100 per month. So that was my analysis. We actually went pretty aggressive. We said we are going to provide the property with top-end appliances, which we were. We were providing Nef and meal and all these kinds of appliances in the property. We had provided a garden. We had provided an additional ensuite, which wasn't really available in that area. And remember, for families that may have young teenagers, etc., they may want a space of their own with an ensuite. So we knew where the market was. So we spoke to lots of agents in making sure we provided a niche and a unique product to the market. So even though this finished only on the 24th of March, right on the 1st of April itself, we were able to get someone for 1350 per calendar month. So that's nearly £250 above what the market rent was. And this is important because when you then share it with the valuers, when they come back in for the valuation and they see that you've secured someone for a year and you're providing something that is not there in the market and you really improved the energy performance of the property, they are prepared to give you that higher end valuation that you want. I did something very cheeky, which not everyone does. I started the refinancing process the day I bought the property. So I know that sounds crazy because when you're trying to remortgage a property, your end product is not yet ready. But I was confident in my building team finishing within 2 months. And we know that the mortgage application process itself can sometimes take 4 weeks. So timing is crucial. You need to do it when you know you're increasing property value and once you've got a long period of rental income. So our property got valued at 260,000. So the offer that came was at 75% loan to value of that, which is £195,000. We added the product fee onto that 195, but what they would give us would be 195,000. There are different types of refinancing. I don't want to go into the detail of that, but the benefit here is that you can pull out the equity that you have added almost straight away. So in this particular case, it was brilliant that my spend was 205, but I got a valuation of 260. So if I was to sell it, I would have got a profit of 55,000. But I chose to remortgage, and that means that I was only able to get 195,000. Now, the specifics that I've given you over here is the amount of interest payment that is there every month. That is around £851.94. And this was, although it states over here, it is 5.09%. This actually amount has dropped because thanks to Trump, Land Bay dropped their interest rates by another 0.2%. So my amount actually has gone down even further. I also look at what are the exit strategies. Looking at the early repayment charge is very important because if the market heats up in, I don't know, 3 years time or 4 years time, so come 2029, and I want to terminate this mortgage by selling the property, that's the fee I'll have to pay. So it's very important that you look at these kinds of things when you're looking to remortgage a property. So the specifics that you may want, my total purchase cost with the auctioneer fee, etc., was 154,500. Add the refurb cost to it, so that took me to 198. The loan that I had to pay my lenders was 4,500, so that's about 2250. That is £750 times 3 to both of the lenders, so total 4,500. and then the remortgage and legal costs added up to 2,000. So total was 205K. I returned the capital with interest. So that is the 200K returned back to them. The capital left by me in the property now is 5K. That's 205 minus 200. I've had some rental income that has come into the property as the remortgage process is going through. And these are the numbers based on the current rental income per month. So we're getting 1350 per calendar month. The mortgage interest payment, I've calculated around 850, but I think it will work out slightly lesser than that. But I didn't want to get into semantics of 827.50, etc., etc. I just kept it as a round number. My agent is charging me £100 to manage this property. I found a new agent for this property who, because he wants to prove to me that he can do well, has given me a really low rate, which I'm very happy about. I'm paying insurance of about £20 per month, and then maintenance costs. This is a brand new property done up to good spec. I'm not expecting further maintenance costs, but I've kept it in there as another £80, so another 100. So when you subtract all of this, that should work out as £300 a month. And these tenants they say they want to stay for at least 3 years. It's a couple of nurses who are staying in there. So I'm expecting a rent of 300 per month net rent with 3.6K per year. That on my 5K capital translates slightly over 70% as return on capital. And then if I was to sell it today or in a year's time, or I don't know, in a couple of years' time, I just really need to terminate the 195K mortgage, which leaves me with 65K of profit. If I return that 5K locked capital to myself, then that leaves me with 60K still. And that, when you calculate as the return on the locked capital, translates to a whopping 1200%. So that 70% per year, if it ran over 5 years, should be 350%. And in 5 years' time, if I was looking to sell it, I'm hopeful it should at least sell for the price it is valued at today. And those are the kind of numbers that work out. The timeline was as follows. I purchased it in auction on 25th November 24. I got the loan agreements in place in Jan 25. You will know I got 100K from Loha and another 100K as 50 plus 50 from Nalini MedPro. We eventually completed in end of January, and then we commenced refurbishment on 1st Feb 2025. And the remortgage application process, I initiated it quite early, but the application was approved on 21st Feb, and they asked for the valuer to be sent out. I delayed the valuer to come for another month by citing various reasons, and we completed the refurbishment on 24th of March, got it tenanted by 1st of April, got the valuation done by 7th April, and actually the remortgage is due to take place because of bank holidays, etc. It's been delayed a little. It was meant to happen today, and I was hoping I would come back to you by saying, here we are, the funds have all been sent back, but this is now due to happen on Monday. So in conclusion, yeah, conventional buy-to-let in my mind won't stack up. So we've got to pivot and change to the current market. The buy, refurbish, rent, and refinance strategy, I would say for the current market is really, really good. I would emphasize, for all the investors that we have over here, either use that wealth to direct it towards either projects like this or think about creating this kind of assets for the long term. And the key thing, of course, is you've got to budget and plan what I would say are the 3 most important resources. Your human resource, that is your builder and your project manager, your finance and your cost. You really need to be very, very clear about that, including contingency. And as you've seen in this particular case, the amount of time you allocate to it, because this thing can be completely different if the project runs over 6 months, interest costs, builder costs, and then timing in that when do you start the remortgage process? When do you actually make sure that you inform your lenders that you are seeking to return their capital, etc., is very, very important. So with that, I will stop and I will open the floor to questions. But because my audio is not working very well, can I request you all to please type in your questions? And I'm sorry that I'm not able to hear you guys for some reason. I'll try again. Can perhaps someone put their hand up, and then I'll try again and see if the audio can be made to work.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Don't
Yeah,
think Prithvi
Andrea,
can.
please go ahead. You have a question.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, no, I was
Finish.
just trying to. I put it in the chat box as well. I was just wondering how
I'm
we.
really sorry. I can't hear you. I think it's a problem with the audio on my side. So if you want to perhaps try putting it in the chat box. Okay, I'm seeing some questions now. So I'll start from the top. The first question, I take it Neeraj is I don't know who Neeraj is, but Neeraj, how do you get 30% prices below wholesale from Howdens? Well, you build the relationship with them over time and you ask them what is the minimum spend you expect from me over the course of the year. And I've used them for multiple refurb projects. They all have what are known as clearance items like fire doors, skirting boards, etc., which they have to clear from their warehouse. And they're very happy for you to actually take it away from them. So what I promised was a certain amount of minimum spend per year, and I've kept to that commitment. So that's how I'm able to get it. But it's from a very specific shop in Sheffield. Howdens will have lots of franchises and lots of retail outlets. You have to build that relationship with them. Arun asked, why did you put carpet for all the rooms? That's a good question, Arun. The reason I put carpet for all the rooms is that's hard-wearing gray carpet. For residential properties, it helps with the spec, it helps with insulation. It's fairly easy to clean. So for those reasons, I've put carpet, but only on the upper floors. You'll see on the ground floor, it was all laminate. Question from Yogesh: how did you get cheaper materials? You said second-hand and auction sources. Yes. So there is something known as William George and Co. So for bathroom stuff, you can get these for 20 or 30% of that kind of price. And again, we have a network with some of the local wholesalers where if they've got clearance items that they need to clear, like toilets and sinks and things like that, or something that has been returned by a customer because they don't need it anymore, we offer to immediately take it off them and store it with us. So we are able to get materials for cheaper like that. Paneling looks nice. Do you simply stick them on the wall? No, it's not one of those. You do need to nail them in, but they've got specific points at which you can nail them in. It's not that difficult. Any decent joiner or handyman should be able to do that for you. Questions: how do you calculate contingency budget? Well, conventionally, everyone say 10%, but I would say always keep 20%, particularly with auction properties, or if you don't have experience as yet in the game, and you don't know what might be there hiding behind a wall or underneath a property or in the roof. I would say go for 20% when you start off, and then with experience you could go further down. Another good question. So the question was, how did you know you would get 1350 rent? I didn't, to be honest. I wanted to test the market. So I tested it with the full knowledge that I would have to drop it to maybe 1250 or 1200. But I was also offering a different product in that I was giving a really good kitchen. I had provided, I didn't mention it, I had provided beds as well, both for the loft as well as for the main bedroom. So it was, in a sense, semi-furnished. People only really needed to bring their sofas and maybe dining table, etc. So it was semi-furnished. The appliances are top quality. So they knew that they were getting something that they could show off in that area. And you'll see the rendering also is light yellow. It's not to my taste, but when I spoke to local estate agents, they told me that there are one or two properties like that with very light yellow, which fades over time and makes it stand out. So people can say that yellow property on Bowness Road. So those little things, I've been listening to the market and just adapting it accordingly. So all of that allowed me, and believe it or not, we had 4 applicants in the first week, and the 1350 was taken up by the person who was willing to pay their deposit straight away. And as a follow-on question, you had said if you only go to 1100 per calendar month, your return would be quite different. That is true, but bearing in mind there is very little of my own capital left on the property, and against that 5K, I'm assured that there is a fair amount of equity still left in the property. I was prepared to accept that. What I didn't tell along this journey was my plan B was this is outside of the Article 4 area in Sheffield. So you could convert this into a mini HMO and let it to 3 people at 400 or 425 pounds per person per room. So you can still hit I was confident I'll hit 1250. I was just giving you a benchmark of what 1100 pounds is for a standard AST in that area. And what if you got a void and tenant didn't pay? That is true. So what I tend to do over here is I tend to normally get a guarantor if it's someone whose salary is not 4x of the rent per month. So I don't pay for rent guarantee insurance. I've had challenges in getting rent guarantee insurance to pay out as well. So that can be yet another problem because they ask you a million questions saying, have you done this? Have you done that? And they find all sorts of reasons to not pay that out. So I haven't done it for this one, but for my London properties where the rent is over 2K per month, I have done it. My mute button is on. No, I'm assuming you all have been patiently listening to me, so I'm hoping you all can hear me. Vineet had said, I feel sourcing the right property is a challenge. That is true, Vineet. But if you've been around, for long enough, it somehow seems to start coming your way, I would say. I certainly get estate agents now calling me saying, there's this really derelict property. Nobody wants to buy it. It's not gone to auction yet. Would you be interested? And I can say that 7 out of 10 of them, the kind of price expectation from the seller is not great, but 3 out of 10 of them, it could work. I just need partners sometimes who are willing to put in the capital, and the rate limiting step in a sense is me, because there's not two of me, there's only one of me, and I have to carefully select certain projects before taking them on. How do you get hold of bank repossessions? There are some agents, bank approved agents, who are there. I believe now most of them invariably go through auction house or these national entities to try and get maximum money. I've only had luck with this around 2 years back, where I know Yorkshire Bank, I knew someone in Yorkshire Bank who had lots of repossessed properties, and I purchased one of them in Rotherham. But it can get tricky. You need to have the right kind of contacts for that. Question is, don't we get better rates if we refinance after 6 months? Yeah, you could. That's a good question, MJ. There was only one lender prepared to give me market value within 6 months. So the question about 6 months is a good one, because once you complete 6 months on a property, the advantage is that you have many more lenders who are willing to lend at market value. Most people will only give you purchase cost plus refurb cost, and they will not give you market value. If I just use purchase cost plus refurb cost, I would have to remortgage to a price of 205K, and the numbers just completely don't add up then. So yes, I chose a particular lender who I've worked with for a long period of time, and the finance rates, who knows? I mean, it's a speculative lending market at the moment, thanks to Trump, isn't it? Interest rate could go up as well. I don't believe in speculating. I believe in the today. So I was happy with the 4.89% that I now currently have. Hypothetically, if this property was an Article 4 area, would you still rent it to two nurses? Yes. So renting it to two different people, you can always do. There is no need for it being in Article 4 or otherwise. So it's perfectly okay. It is 3 or more in Sheffield that are classed as a HMO. Yeah, your question, I think, is about, can you push it into a HMO? Legally, no. if the HMO officer comes along and finds three people are consistently living in the property and asks neighbors, etc., and the AST only says there are two people, your AST is very clear in that your contract with the tenant is that only two people are allowed to live there. They're not allowed to sublet. That's part of the tenancy contract, and they would be in breach of those conditions. Your question is, yeah, you usually rent it to couples or families. If you're within an Article 4 area, then yes, you have to be limited by that restriction. If it is outside of any Article 4 restriction, nothing stops you in converting it into a HMO. There are standards that you need to meet, and I don't know if you guys noticed during my presentation, we put emergency lighting, we put fire doors, we've put self-closing doors with self-closing hinges. So we've kind of done it up to HMO standards such that if I need to pivot and change in the future, that option exists for me. I am going to just take out a moment to see if I can get my builder to join. He's yeah, sorry, I hope I've answered most questions. Noticed capital depreciation in the area is 4 to 5%, which is good. It is, yeah. Well done, MJ. So you've already gone online and started doing your research, I see. It is, and what you need to understand is 4 to 5% is pretty good because all factors remaining the same in a relatively down market. If in 5 years it appreciates by 25%, if you only have 20% of your capital locked, then if the asset has grown by 25%, you're effectively doubling your capital. So it's a 100% return on your capital. So there is a reason why I'm operating in certain areas only, like Stockport, potentially Doncaster now, Derby, Sheffield, ripple effect, so some areas of Rotherham, because the hybrid model of both rental appreciation and capital appreciation is a good one. A fair number of people here are also joint venture partners with me. And even if I'm investing in S10 postcode, it's typically properties which are HMOs. And HMOs tend to give you a much higher rental flow. So the debt is being serviced appropriately by the rent. But these properties are continually growing in capital value. And even if they're not growing in capital value, because the rent is going up over time, demand supply dynamics are still fantastic in Sheffield. There is huge shortage of properties. Then because the rents are going up, you're effectively forcing the capital value of the property. I hope that makes sense. So if you imagine a 20,000, 200,000 HMO making 20,000 rent in year one, but by year five, if you've managed to increase it to 25,000, so 21,000 in year one, 22,000, 23,000, 24,000, 25,000, so £1,000 increase in rent year on year. By year five, you've reached 25,000 in rent, which is a 25% uplift. That should allow you to push the value of that 200K property to at least 250K, even if the market is flatlining. So this is the reason why certain areas, I would say, in the country are well suited for this kind of a model. Coming specifically to this particular property, this property lends itself both to a conventional let. So at 1350, I've kind of got the rent that I want. But if in the future I need to pivot and change it to a HMO, I'm confident I will easily get close to £450 per month of rent for three people sharing it. Somebody will pay 550 for the loft with the ensuite. And then the middle two floors, what I could do is convert the lounge, the big lounge, into a bedroom, keep the small bedroom as a study, and then the dining kitchen area could be the communal area with TV, etc., to still let me get to that 1450 or 1350 net mark per month. So that's why I've chosen this. And I think one or two partners are also there on this forum. We've been specifically choosing properties where we buy them at a certain price. We've been unsuccessful in getting a certain price at auction, but having that discipline to know when to walk away is also very, very important. So you kind of have to predefine your buying price right at the start. I'm really sorry, guys. My builder says his van has broken down. He'll only be able to get to his laptop by 9:15. So um, I'm sorry. My apologies. I wanted to bring in three people into this today, which was um, is Rahul here? I can see your name, Rahul. Rahul, are you here? Rahul Deb? Okay, you may have to type in the chat box because I won't be able to hear. No. So Rahul was one of the lenders. So I wanted to bring his perspective on how comfortable he felt at the point of time of lending. And then I wanted to bring in my project manager who I've trained over the course of last 9 months or so. And she was able to project manage this for me right from the start to end. Um, which is brilliant. It was a learning experience for her. She's also a partner with me in a different limited company, but I was able to do all of this at an arm's length. I think some of the people present on this forum are also on the WhatsApp group where I'm able to share these kind of refurb projects with them. And I'm effectively just forwarding whatever I get from Sarah onto them. But sad that they couldn't join us today. Otherwise, I could have brought in their perspectives. And the reason why I wanted to bring in a builder, well, I mean, Dan works now largely, almost exclusively for my company, for my property development company, which is Wealth Property Development. He has his own company, which is called Blueprint Builders, but we've managed to get a beautiful marriage going where I'm able to make his pain points go away by ensuring efficient, seamless delivery of materials whenever he wants them, a project manager in place who can facilitate the coming and going of the sequential lineup of tradesmen like electrician, plumber, EPC officer, city council standards officer. And so, Danny can really effectively purely focus on the building work alone, which meant that even in those 2 months, he was able to do other projects because he knew well in advance there is a week gap where he's not required because that entire week the electrician is going to be doing his thing. Or there was a 3-day gap where the plumber has to do all of the stuff with regards to the radiators and the plumbing. So it allowed him to go ahead and finish on other projects and overall improve his income stream. So I wanted to bring his perspectives on how did he manage to do a fantastic, quite a detailed project which normally takes 4 to 6 months very easily. If you look at a lot of other YouTube videos, etc. out there, most people will tell you that this kind of a project typically takes 4 to 5 months, and then people tend to remortgage it after 6 months. If you look at all these programs on TV where people have bought a property, then they've done them up, and then the producers go back. They typically only go back after 6 or maybe 9 months. We are here talking about a full strip down to brick, full reboarding, full replastering, full rewiring, full replumbing. Even though the boiler was okay, the pipework needed changing, externally rendering, insulating, full roof repair, and then the quality of work that you've seen in terms of adding an ensuite and refurbishing a bathroom, etc. To do this uh, in a span of 7 weeks, I would say, because we completed it on 24th of March, having started on the 1st of February, and February only has 28 days. So in a space of, I would say, 7 to 8 weeks to finish something like this is great. Some follow-on questions. How much time? CK, I'm not going to share my secret with you. Did I do any work myself? I would say I did audit my time. So I've spent, I think, about 16 hours on this of my own time. But I know Sarah has spent a lot more, close to, I would say, 40 hours of work, which she has billed me for, and that goes into the project management costs of around £1,000, which I'm paying her for doing the work for me. So combined together, 56 hours. And what is the next question? Very impressive. Sorry, no problem. Did your project manager really do everything remotely? 90% of the stuff was done remotely. Sarah does live in Sheffield, so she did kind of quality control checks by going and checking on the project, I think in total about 4 times during that entire 8 week span. But they've developed a beautiful relationship where Grant, who does my operations, provides some mentorship and support to Sarah. Sarah and Danny really work well. They've done 2 projects already, and this is now the 3rd project. So they've kind of ironed out a lot of things between them. And we stick with our contractors, we stick with our suppliers as well. And we've developed that relationship with them such that if we make a phone call today and we say we need it tomorrow, it will be there tomorrow. And Danny and his team, they're a team of 3 Romanians. They're brilliant in that they work really, really hard. They start at 7 a.m. in the morning and sometimes continue working till 7 p.m. in the evening. I just give them the price that they have quoted, and I don't fuss about the timeline, but I do say that if you can finish it ahead of time, whatever I save in interest costs, which would in this case, for example, be 750 pounds, which is 1,500 pounds of interest payment that I would have to make if it ran for another month. I'm happy to give them that entire 1,500, and that motivation sometimes is enough for them to try and finish it earlier. So 1,500 in their mind, they don't mind stretching and putting in that extra couple of hours every evening. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. because you don't want to disturb neighbors and you're only officially allowed to work during those times. So the way we worked it out is we finished the loft and we left painting and things like that, which doesn't disturb the neighbors, for later on in the evening. If they chose to stay in the property and carried on working beyond 7 p.m., they would do painting and things like that, which allowed the work to be done. That room got done more quicker, while the lower floors, we were still at brick level. So we planned that quite well. You require really good planning to be able to do this within the 7 to 8 week time. So this is why I wanted to bring Danny in, for him to explain how did he plan out that schedule of works and how did he get it done. All of those of you who have done refurb work will know that if only the builders could just efficiently plan their time a little bit better and did it a bit more professionally, they could really finish on these projects much ahead of time. So I'm really sorry. I realize it's been almost an hour. Yogesh asked, "Who did your slides?" Cheeky Yogesh. My VA from India. I realize it's not 100% professional, but I only floated this idea last week, and I have been very time poor. So she did 95% of it. I've done the last 5% tweaking. But I can see you picked up on the fact that it's not my style. Well done on that. Yeah, that's a good guess. So if there are no other questions, we will wrap it up. I hope you will go away with some great thoughts in the fact that it can be done. Careful selection of the property, the location, knowing the end values upfront is very important, because you then subtract your contingency costs and your actual refurb costs and the other miscellaneous costs to know what is the sweet spot at which you can stop at the auction, or when you try to negotiate with any agent or vendor, what the actual price is. I haven't talked about vendor finance in great detail, largely because I don't have experience of it. I've tried to speak to people about it, but I've largely found that vendors really want to just get on with selling the property. They don't want a complicated situation where they continue to own the property while you do the refurbishment and then you come to some kind of a sharing agreement. If someone else here has got that kind of experience, then please get in touch with me and share those case studies, with us. Yogesh has said I'm doing vendor finance. So Yogesh, I'm going to pin you down then and say maybe we can have one presentation from you on how to do that, how to structure it, what are the pros and cons. So it'll be good to get your thoughts maybe sometime in June or July. if we can request you to volunteer yourself into it, it'll be great to, because clearly there's enough appetite in the group for us to do it. So yeah, I would definitely say go for it. Okay, can I borrow your BA please for slides? Yeah, I'm happy to share her details separately with you. It's a company called Get Friday, but it's a relationship I've built with that person over time in training them and teaching them what really needs to be done as well. So it's not a given, it's something you'll have to do. Yeah, so recommendations from the floor that, Yogesh, if you can talk about your current partnership. And then Andrea said, thank you for this, very interesting and informative. Yes, that's really good. Hopefully, Andrea and Bevan, we can find something for you as well, and hopefully we can come back and then present something like this in 6 months' time. So fingers crossed. On that note, thanks everyone. And this will be recorded. So Yogesh, I hope you don't mind. I'll be sharing a Zoom link of this with people who have asked for them to share this with them as well. So people who've got their photos, etc., coming up on the screen right now, that will show on the recording as well. I can, obviously it'll just be my voice talking, but and me and my face here, but I'll share a Zoom link with people who have not been able to turn up. Very nice to see you all and wish you all a good evening. Bye.